Who runs America? The powerful. Everybody masters something, right? They master their personality, they master their techniques, and that's what they sell us. But what do we get behind the strength? We get the weakness. It comes out inevitably. In every situation, the weakness will undermine the strength. So you can build all the illusions you want, but if the illusion's based upon a weak part of a person, it's going to collapse. Power is an illusion.
The illusion is the competitiveness and the separateness and the striving for what we think is success, which is winning. Instead, we move out of that illusion into the reality of our connectedness and the spiritual nature of our being.
We have to change our political system where people who seek power will not be respected anymore, nor will they be feared, because we are ultimately the meaning seekers. We should remember that, and we should do that in our lives whenever necessary. No power should be coveted at the expense of the search for meaning, which is basic to us.
Stop personalizing your anger. We're a society that makes ourselves crazy, thinking somehow it's about us. If someone doesn't call you, if someone doesn't acknowledge you for what you do, if someone says something that you're not happy about, instead of saying, "Why'd you say that?" and then get all upset and start emoting, why not just depersonalize it and say, it's just an emotion, but I'm not going to connect with it. What's this really about? Behind anger, there's always something else that's not being communicated. Look for what's missing in the communication. Go to what's really being felt. If you're in a car jam and you're slow, and then someone cuts in front of you, and you start hitting on the horn and yelling out the window, you've personalized it. Do you think that person said, I'm going to go after you today. I'm going to wait until I can cut in front of you, because I know it's going to piss you off. No, no. But you're acting like it was you that guy was doing something to, personally. Most of what happens in life is not personal, but we take it personal. And then we start extending our anger out. Just surrender the need to react. Surrender it. Go to neutral and look at it and say, what's really going on here? Because I want to know what is really happening. And more often than not, someone else is expressing inappropriately their emotions, and it really isn't about you, it's about them. How many in this room have had what I call the conversations? Yeah, well, call me back later and say the same thing, and okay, we'll talk tomorrow like we did today, and yesterday and the next day, and forever, all we can do is talk, but we'll just entertain each other with this nonsense. What if you had an ability only to talk once on any issue? That's it. Let's go over this one time, that's it. You get it or you don't. Boy, will we pay attention then. One time only. Why don't we communicate that way? Be present for what is being shared and be open to what is being said. Whether you agree or disagree, want to use it or not, at least be willing to connect with it. I can stay non-judgmental. When I listen non-judgmentally, I hear everything. When I look non-judgmentally, I see everything. When I come with unconditional love, I don't have to judge something. I can let it be what it is, and then I can decide whether to accept or reject it. But how often in our society do we prejudge everything? We presuppose everything. Oh, I wouldn't like that. How do you know? I wouldn't like that. How do you know? I'm sure I wouldn't. I don't even want to. How do you know? Well, yeah, you don't know. We're afraid to open ourselves up. We're afraid of what? We're afraid of creating discomfort. The number one compulsion, the number one addiction is comfort addiction in the United States. And you can't change without surrendering something. To change, you have to give something up to replace it with something. So we're afraid of letting something go because we've gotten used to it. Even something that doesn't feel good is better than the void. The universe abhors a void. We don't want a void. So we try to keep filling our lives with something and hope that it's meaningful. At the end of the day, when we stop running long enough, we realize we're right back to where we started. We're right back at the first step, because all we did is just fill our lives with nothing that was essential.
I'd have to say we do foolish things if we're an immature soul, and we do foolish things if we give the wrong things meaning. But the issue is, if we don't see the traps in life, we have to go through the crap until we see the traps, because that's our only teacher. If we can't get the information other ways, by reading, learning, and just growing, becoming more mature, then we have to experience the phenomena associated with doing foolish things.
We began as little kids to draw conclusions. Those conclusions gel into what I call a core belief system. And that core belief system works much like software in our computer program. And the reason it works so similarly is actually the human brain is a prototype for the computer anyway. That's the way we conceive the idea of having a computer and how it might work and store information. And so when we draw those conclusions, it might be conclusions out of the painful experiences that I'm rejectable versus I'm lovable, or it might be I'm unworthy, or I don't deserve a happy relationship. If I were to do traditional marital therapy with them, teaching them techniques of communication and listening, it doesn't get anywhere if those beliefs are in place. And the traumas behind that are really firing up the whole thing. But if you've cleared out the trauma, then if you do one of these processes which clears out the belief itself, then you can actually install a new belief that they prefer to live by. It's like putting new software in your computer. And once that's so, then if you work on listening and communication, they can learn it. They can be right there. They can be reasonable with each other. They can take turns to hearing each other. They can hear the pain the other one has without being defensive. So we have to, these are upstream kind of procedures for beginning to, to deal with that problem of behaving stupidly or behaving irrationally or behaving in ways that are non-productive.
95% of our behavior is actually coming from the subconscious mind, and that the fundamental programs of the subconscious mind were put in the first 6 years. And while my conscious mind has access to all the new information and all the things I've learned since then, the conscious mind only runs my show 5% of the time. So it says I could be totally intelligent 5% of the time, but it's the other 95% of the time coming from the tape player where those foolish and stupid acts come from, and they're not particularly anything that we would consciously engage in. We only do it because at that point in time they're stimulus response push button operations. So the issue is, why would an intelligent person do something stupid? And the answer is, well, how much of that activity was controlled by their conscious mind and how much of it was controlled by their subconscious mind? Because yes, their conscious mind has all the data, the truth, the answers, and yet the subconscious mind has the push-button shows.
Do you take advantage of any qualities in other people to exploit that? If you exploit people or circumstances, that is a negative. I do not believe that we should ever feel good about winning at someone else's loss, exploiting any situation to our advantage at someone else's disadvantage. I believe that when we look at the society we live in today, an awful lot of people have gotten rich at other people's expense. And even emotionally, we should never exploit a relationship. If you're exploiting it, that means someone is being affected. To the degree that you're gaining something, someone's losing something. Why not look at all of our actions and deeds and say, am I empowering people by what I'm sharing? If what you share empowers, then there's a positive energy that will go with it. If what you share disempowers, there's a negative energy that will go with it. Think of the reactions you've had in your life because of you being exploited. And then you take it personally, and now you become what you have feared. Exploited, vulnerable, weak, and no control.